Okay, so this is my spoiler talk for the new It movie. If you want to see a non-spoiler talk, there's a link to my review in the description below. Or if you just don't give a shit about spoilers, I welcome you to this video. So right off the bat, the opening scene sets the tone for the whole movie. Again, the opening scene, if you don't know, is Georgie meeting Pennywise in the sewer. And that scene is very, very well done. Ben Skarsgård shows right off the hop that he's going to do Tim Curry's role justice. The way he acts in that scene is really fantastic because he goes from like being really happy and peppy with Georgie to like his tone just switches. Like he's telling him about the circus that's in the sewer and the popcorn and how it goes pop, 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 and then he just cuts the bullshit and he's intense again. And his voice when he's just talking to Georgie, he's just like, Georgie's like, oh, I'm gonna leave now. And he goes, oh, without your boat. And he goes, here, take it. And it's creepy as hell, and his teeth are there, and his eyes are glowing, and there's water running down his face. He's not even wiping the water off his face. Like, what the fuck? Who doesn't do that? Like, if I got water on my face right now, I'd be wiping that shit. So it shows that Pennywise is not human. And the scene I was talking about in my non-spoiler video that I was surprised that they showed it, they show Pennywise bite Georgie's arm off. Like, from this part of his arm down, he bites it off. And Georgie's bleeding out, and his bone's sticking out, and he's crying, he's screaming. And then Pennywise's hand comes out from the sewer and just pulls him in. He's bleeding out everywhere. And it's really intense, and it shows this movie is not fucking around. Another thing that I touched on in my non-spoiler video was the fact that there were a couple of characters that were just kind of meh characters, and that's Mike and Stanley. Stanley more so than Mike. Stanley is just like a little germaphobe kid, but for whatever reason his main fear is this painting in his synagogue. He's Jewish. Other than that, Stanley, his character doesn't bring shit all to the movie. Like he did not need to be there. Like, I've never read the book, I've seen the miniseries, but I honestly wouldn't have noticed if Stanley wasn't in the movie. Mike is another character that just kind of isn't really necessary to be there. He's there because his grandfather owns a gun, and they use the gun at the end of the movie to shoot Pennywise. If someone else had a gun, Mike wouldn't need to be in the movie either. So for a movie that has really strong character development, I'm really surprised that these two characters, there's actually three characters that don't get a lot of character development. The other one is Bowers, the bully. But for the main people that you're focused on for the movie, the fact that two of them didn't even really get much character development was a little upsetting. But that's where this movie could have used maybe like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour runtime. And I know that sounds crazy, but people were willing to sit through almost 4 hours for Lord of the Rings, so why not another extra half an hour just to develop a couple more characters? The way they introduce the kids is really well done, because they introduce them just like as friends at school, and then they start sectioning them off into this is what they fear, and that was really well done. A couple of the scenes were a little silly. Again, Mike's scene. Pennywise confronting him with his fear was kind of stupid. Same with the one with Stanley. His scene was kind of stupid. The little fat kid, I can't remember his name, and I feel so bad for just calling him the little fat kid. His scene in the library is like an iconic scene where he follows the balloon into the basement of the library, but the rest of the scene is just kind of silly. As for Beverly, Eddie, Richie, and Bill's fear scenes, those are all four really well done. The Beverly scene, my best guess is that her fear is becoming a woman, because she like cuts all of her hair off for reasons we'll touch on in a bit, because I don't feel like touching on that right now. Because she's going through, like, I think she's like she's gotten her first period or something, because she's at the pharmacy buying tampons when she meets the other losers for the first time. And then in the movie, like a lot of blood shoots out of her sink right into her face, so I assume like her fear is becoming a woman for whatever reason. Richie's fear is clowns, and it's the scene that you saw in the trailer where he gets separated into the room full of clowns, and then Pennywise flies out. That's part of a whole big section of the movie, probably my favorite section of the movie. But Eddie and Bill's fear scenes are two of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. Eddie is this little hypochondriac kid who's afraid of getting diseases and stuff, so his fear comes in the form of a leper, and the leper chases him around the house, the Pennywise house. He chases him around outside, and then the scene that you saw in the trailer for the first time when we see Pennywise with the big bundle of balloons, and then they all raise up, and he's just there, and then Eddie is freaked out of his mind. That whole scene is so fantastic. I can't remember exactly what Pennywise says to him, but I'm watching it, and I was just like, man, like, Skarsgård is really killing it. Like, Tim Curry's probably like, good job, kid. Like, this is really well done. But Bill's fear is that Georgie is dead. So his fear scenario, he follows Georgie down to the basement, and it's, again, a scene from the trailer where he's like, Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too. And then Pennywise rises up out of the water. And the thing that I liked was that, from what I saw in the trailer, I thought Pennywise was going to run at him and then just disappear. But he doesn't. Pennywise is literally there in his basement. And he chases him, like, right to the staircase, and Bill takes off. And that struck a chord with me, because as a kid, I feared running up my basement stairs. I would run up my basement stairs because I was always afraid that slime would grab my ankle and pull me back. So that really struck a chord with me. But those fear sequences are really well done. More, again, going back to what I was saying before about Beverly's scene, you root for all the losers in this movie, but you really root for Beverly the most, because the setup for her is that there's implied previous sexual abuse from her father, or that he wants to. It's not really clear whether or not he's already done it or he's going to do it. But with her, just her whole character development is easily the best in the entire movie. At first, like, she's really, like, obedient with her dad. Like, he's like, "Are you still my girl?" And she's like, "Yes, daddy." And, like, that, it's really uncomfortable. Like, there were a lot of people in the theater that were really uncomfortable with that scene. You could tell, because, like, people were kind of like, meh. Like, the person next to me was all meh during that whole scene, and so was I. So you're really rooting for her. And then she finally stands up to her dad. She kicks him in the dick, and then she wails at him with the back of the toilet seat. Like, she hides behind the curtain. And he pulls back the curtain. She slams him, and you're just like, fuck yeah! And it's really surprising, because Beverly's main role in the book and in the miniseries is just kind of be there as, like, the female loser that, like, the girls go, "Oh, I relate to her," but she's there as like the backbone of the losers group. She's really solid. The sequence I was talking about before, when they first go into the Pennywise's house, or the lair, is really well shot. It's beautifully acted. Eddie falls down a hole, or Eddie gets separate. Yeah, Eddie falls down a hole, breaks his arm. Then Pennywise comes crawling out of a fridge. He's walking backwards like a crab walk. Then he, like, heels over, and he's, like, upright, and he's just mocking Eddie, and he's in his face, and he's grabbing his face, he's laughing in his face. And again, Skarsgård shines in this scene as Pennywise. Just awesome. Again, his eyes are kind of askew. Like, one eye is not looking at Eddie in this scene. Like, the one eye is just kind of over here, and this eye is staring right at Eddie, but this one's over here for whatever reason. And if that's not CGI, Skarsgård has said that he can do that with his eyes. Even, like, the scene that you saw in the trailer with Richie in the clown room is still really well done, because it's not as simple as the way it looks in the trailer, because the clowns, like, move and shit in the room, and he's not sure which one's Pennywise, and then, like, the big trunk ends up being Pennywise, and that whole scene is just really well done. Going back to the bully, Bowers, I can't remember his first name. I know it starts with an H, but I just can't remember what it is right now. He needed more time on screen, 100%, because he's just kind of there to be the antagonist when Pennywise isn't on screen. That's his entire role. And he's a dick. And you hate him because he's a dick. And then they're like, oh, well, this is why he's a dick. It's because his dad treats him like trash. But if they had given you a bit more time with him, because there's a scene where like he's shooting bottles with his buddies, and then his dad comes over and he's just like, I thought I told you to clean my gun. And he's like, I am cleaning your gun. He goes, no, you're just shooting around with your friends. And he takes it and I don't know why I continue that part in the whatever. And then he shoots like 4 bullets at the ground, and Bowers is all like in tears and shit. And he looks at Bowers' buddies and he goes, see, he's just a scared little boy. And then he walks away. And then, long story short, Bowers ends up killing his dad under Pennywise's influence. And then he goes after the Losers Club when they're going after Pennywise in the final scene. And then he just dies. Like he gets pushed down the hole that Pennywise is going down. And he gets pushed down the hole and he dies. That's it. The last 20 minutes of the movie where they're in Pennywise's lair, like for the final confrontation, is really well done as well. It's a little random with like his, I don't know, like one of my buddies told me, he's like, oh, the scene where Pennywise just opens his mouth and it's like this big gaping hole like all the way to the back of his mouth, like the back of his throat, is just kind of weird. And it is, but Pennywise isn't human, he's not an alien or whatever, he's just some sort of entity. Like, the best way I can describe Pennywise is he's basically a boggart from Harry Potter. He takes the form of that of which scares someone the most. And then, after the scene in the garage, oh my god, the scene in the garage, I almost completely forgot about that scene. My favorite scene in the entire movie is this scene in the garage. It's the projector scene that you see in the trailer where they're realizing that everywhere incidents are happening around the town is connected through the sewers. And then Pennywise starts taking it over. But the way the scene continues is that they kick over the projector, but then the projector keeps going. The lights in the room in the garage go out, and then Pennywise comes out of the projector, but he's like 10 feet tall, and he's got like 5 rows of teeth, and he's going after them, and they finally get the garage door open, and he's gone. So now the reason why you only see Pennywise throughout the rest of the movie is because he's what the kids fear the most now. They don't fear what he can become, they just fear him. And that's something that I really, really like that they touched on in this movie near the end. That he's just Pennywise throughout the whole thing until like his last ditch effort, where he changes into everything that scares them. Like he changes into the lady in the painting that Stanley fears. He changes into a leopard to freak out Eddie. He stays as Pennywise to scare Richie. He tries to trick... This is a weird scene for me. He tries to trick Bill into thinking that he's actually Georgie. But the thing that I found was kind of stupid was the fact that Georgie is missing his arm. And I think that's just more of a way to try to confuse us as the viewer, because Bill, I assume, doesn't know that Georgie got his arm ripped off, so why would he be missing an arm? And I think that's just a way for the director to be like, oh, hey, viewer, this might actually be Georgie because, you know, his arm's missing. But Bill doesn't know that his arm is missing. So why? Like, I get it. I just think I'm really nitpicking here because there's not a lot in this movie I didn't like. That's a really well done scene because you can see the emotion. The kid that plays Bill really shines in like the last 20 minutes of the movie. Like, he's good throughout the whole movie, but he really shows why he's the star in like the last 20 minutes because he knows that it's Pennywise, but the pure emotion in his face, because Georgie's like, I just want to go home, and he goes, oh, I want you to come home just more than anything, and he puts the gun to his head, and he goes, but you're not Georgie, and he blows his head off, right, and you're just like, whoa, and then he changes into Pennywise, and then they end up they defeat Pennywise. He's not dead, though, like, he just goes back down the hole, and the line that Bill says is fantastic. He goes, we're not scared of you anymore. Now you're the one who's scared. And I thought that was a beautiful line. That's how life is. Like, when you're a kid, there's so much that scares you. But then as you get older, you realize this isn't anything to fear. And that's how they do it with Pennywise in this scene. And that's where the coming of age aspect from Stand By Me comes in. Because if you haven't seen Stand By Me, they go on a big adventure, and then they're looking for something, but then they find themselves instead, like the one kid that's a wimp isn't a wimp anymore, and the one guy that's really tough shows that he's not as tough, like he just really needs his friends, and it's really beautifully done. I'm glad that they didn't do what the miniseries did, and they're breaking this movie up into two parts. They're doing chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 1 is they just focus on the kids, and I think that's really smart, because if you try to cram 2 full-on storylines into a 2.5-hour movie, that's only 60 minutes for the kids and then 60 minutes for the adults, and that's just going to be a complete mess because you don't get enough time to care about these characters in the long run. Trying to think if there's any other scenes that, like, I think we're good here. I think that's it. Yeah, overall, it is a fantastic movie. Like, the movie is a fantastic movie. I'm definitely going to see it again because I have some friends that want to go see it, and I'm like, yo, I'll go see it with you again because I really enjoyed it. And I know that there's some people out there that are like, oh, it's so mainstream. Like, I'm not going to be a conformist. This movie is stupid because it's not scary. Shut the fuck up. Okay, just shut up. Okay? The movie doesn't have to be scary. Congratulations, you weren't scared by a demonic clown. I guarantee 90% of the people that made this movie $100 million over the weekend are scared of this clown. And just because you're not doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. Like, shut up. Tim Curry wasn't that scary. The whole 1990 miniseries is trash except for Tim Curry, and he's even not that scary. He's just kind of creepy. And that's the thing with Skarsgård. Skarsgård as Pennywise is scary in like 1 or 2 scenes, but the rest of it, he's just creepy. So if you're one of those guys that's just like, oh, the movie's not good, didn't live up to the hype because he's not scary, just fuck you. And you know who you are. You know who I'm talking. You know who I'm talking to. All right, you know I'm talking to you. All right. Yeah. Overall, I think it's a fantastic movie. I'm definitely buying it when it comes out on DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. I'm definitely buying it. It's going to be a great Halloween movie to just watch every year with your buddies or whatever. Yeah. I actually might start doing more of these reviews, whether it's for movies, video games, TV shows, whatever. If you want to leave a like, that'd be fantastic. Leave a comment. Yeah, just maybe I'll see you next time. I honestly don't know. Thanks for watching.